Good evening and welcome to the Defiance City Council meeting for tonight, August 11th, 2026. This meeting is now called to order. I'll let the record show that all the members of council are present except for Mrs. Crutch. She gave us the heads up a couple weeks ago that she would not be able to be here this evening and asked us to excuse her. Do we have a motion to excuse Mrs. Crutch tonight? Mr. Engel? So moved?
Second.
Second, Mrs. Kaufman? All those in favor of excusing Mrs. Crutch's presence this tonight, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, she's excused, but she assured us that she'll be at next Tuesday's meeting. Would you stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight, at the top, actually, we have Captain Case here as our special guest. Would you come up and...
He's not here.
Look
Oh, there he is. I can see him. You gotta stand up, buddy.
Thank you for being here this evening. I was highly anticipating hearing what you have to say to us.
Thank you, council and members of the administrative staff. Several months ago, or it's been longer than several months now, it was February 12th, that sound right, Grant? The members of the fire department on my shift, we responded to a pretty traumatic incident at Family Christian Center. It was approximately 8 o'clock in the morning, and our patient is here behind us, and I'll have him come up and speak in a little bit, but he was setting up for the Night to Shine event here in town that's sponsored by Family Christian Center in Caitlin's Cottage. He's been doing that for years. And he was on a man lift and fell off the man lift, falling approximately 18 feet to the concrete floor. Myself, George, and Nate responded in the initial squad, and Mr. Stover was in very bad shape, to put it lightly. He had several very obvious broken bones, and we knew right away that it was a pretty critical incident, and we had to stabilize him as quickly as possible and get him to a trauma center where they could further his care along from there. So initially, right away after recognizing that, I called for some additional staff from the station. Austin was one of them that came and assisted us as well, and one of my other part-time personnel that was working that day. And we were able to stabilize Mr. Stover, get him to ProMedica, and they worked on him a little bit more, and then transferred him to Toledo, and he was in Toledo for about a month. And just want to recognize the efforts that my shift put in for that call. It was a very stressful situation, and we don't always get to see the full circle outcome of a lot of these calls. We go help people, anybody that calls 911, and sometimes we get some feedback on how they're doing or how they did and that kind of thing, but the situation with Mr. Stover is a really great one to hear about because we get a first full circle of care for everything that happened with him and see how we're doing now. So Mr. Stover, would you like to come up and say a few words?
Well, as you can guess, it was a very rough day. When the lift went over, I bounced off the ground pretty hard. Shattered the femur bone, shattered my elbow, broke my jaw in 2 places, broke my neck in 2 places, and had a brain bleed. So it was very traumatic at that moment when they got to me. And the other thing was that I was the only person in the building at the time. And so I wasn't found for about, we're guessing about a half hour. And so it was pretty urgent by the time they got to me, and these guys did a wonderful job. I don't remember a whole lot about it, but they said I never shut up. Can't imagine, if any of you know me, I can't imagine that would have happened. But they took great care for me. The most important thing was that I did have some bones sticking out of my leg, and that made it quite a traumatic things. So got me to ProMedica, got me shipped to Toledo. I had the same surgeon do my leg and my elbow. And I'm back working at all occasions again. And so because of these gentlemen and their care as quickly as possible, I took my first 5 steps in 14 days after the accident. So I really appreciate them, and people all call me the miracle guy from town. So I do have an appreciation for everything that the Lord did for me on that day. So I appreciate everybody's prayers, and glad to be, I'm figuring I'm probably about 90% back to normal. So, and it's 6 months from tomorrow. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for being our guest this evening. It's one thing to see scripted TV shows where paramedics save the day. It's another thing when people that we know in our own city do that very same sort of heroic life-saving work. But thank you very much for your service and the work that you do.
Could I have all you gentlemen stand up here, please?
Where would you like us to stand, Lisa? Where would you like us to stand?
Right up here by the.
Me too.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. And there are more of you back there?
Yeah.
You're all part of it.
Right?
You're important too. Yeah. You don't mind this going on Facebook, do you? Too late. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks again, guys.
Thank you, guys. Great work.
Almost as exciting as life-saving heroics, I have reviewed the index minutes for the City Council meeting of July 14th, the special meeting of July 28th, and also the City Council meeting for July 28th. Do we have a motion to correct the index minutes as they're presented? Okay, without any such motion, I'll endorse them. And do we have any committee meeting requests or reports? Right. And do we have any comments from council? Mr. Waxler.
Yeah, Mr. Mack, I've been getting a lot of complaints again on the electric bikes. Seems like they're going rampant again here. And I've seen probably 3 different instances in the last week. And it's not really the kids, it's adults on them.
It is the kids as well, and I can vouch for that because my son was stopped.
Okay.
So he
I
was
haven't
out
seen
with
any
some
kids
friends.
put that
We
way.
did not purchase the bike, but I know that our officers are out stopping young
Okay.
people, encouraging them to be safe, and making sure that they called their dad right afterwards, which was good of them, and I appreciated them adding that little bit into. We're getting ready for back to school, and kids are trying to get the last little bit out of summer, but I will make sure that talk to Chief and make sure we're out there.
I've been watching,
taking a look
and
at
like I
stuff.
said, it's mainly adults, and they're cutting corners and going through behind the subway and out on, it's crazy. They're just flying around.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments from council? Any concerns, anything that you would like to share that you would have received? All right. On my desk, I do have 2 emails that I received that I'd like to read. Otherwise, I'll forget to do it. Every week we say that if a citizen has a concern, they can come and share their concerns during citizens' concerns, or if they email something to us that is relevant to a topic that we're considering, that we'll read it or discuss it during a council meeting. The first email that I received was from Rebecca Kirkland, She says, good morning. It was so nice. Okay. I was writing to you to express my deep concern about the zoning and city planning conversations that have been taking place. I am deeply suspicious that this is not coincidence, but a preparation for a plan that has already been rolled into motion. My fellow Democrats and I are not opposed to progress. We are not opposed to bringing industry and opportunity into our community, but it is highly suspicious that these recent actions are a means to an end that serves the people in power, especially because so many other opportunities to enjoy progress have been struck down, yet somehow this one is coasting right on through. Below is my professional opinion on how to enjoy progress at a pace that is fair to the community and the investor. I have reviewed the proposed ordinance for moratorium on data centers. It is an appropriate solution to allow time to research the effects of a data center on our community infrastructure. However, the following revisions must be made before this ordinance can actually serve its purpose. Number 1, revise Section 2 for clear and concise language that puts a definite end to the moratorium when the time is appropriate. Emphasize the moratorium is for a period of 12 months from the effective date of the ordinance or on the date council adopts an ordinance terminating the moratorium. Number 2, remove Section 4 completely from this ordinance. A hardship appeal by any individual should never take precedent over the good of a community as a whole. No individual hardship should stop council from its due diligence and research on the community impact of a data center or large manufacturing facility. Furthermore, an appeal must always be filed with council, who shall have the final decision by majority vote, not solely the mayor. Also, please consider the high cost of water that Defiance County residents in outlying communities pay. My water bill in Ayersville was $160 last month for a household with 2 adults. If there is a possibility that a data center could, and historically they do, raise costs of water in the community, it would have a devastating impact on those in rural areas of Defiance on a fixed income. This is why research must be done before a decision is made. The addition of less than 100 jobs by no means offsets the cost increase to outlying communities. Thank you for your consideration, council, and representation of your constituents. Sincerely, Rebecca J. Kirkland. And the second email that I was requested to read is from local attorney Steve Hubbard. Right. Dear council members, I respectfully urge the City Council to adopt a 1-year moratorium on the approval of new data centers within the City of Defiance. This request is not based on opposition to economic development, technology, or private investment. Rather, it is based on the belief that the city should fully understand the long-term impacts of these facilities before allowing them to be developed. I reviewed the proposed ordinance prepared by the former law director. It is my opinion that the duration of the ordinance in Section 2 should not exceed 12 months, emphasized, or the date that council adopts an ordinance terminating the moratorium, and emphasis. These 2 timeframes are definite and not subject to another interpretation. In addition, this moratorium applies to more than planning and zoning elements of zoning districts, special or conditional use permits, setbacks, building height, landscaping, and buffering standards, noise limitations, outdoor lighting, etc. Among the other issues that deserve careful study are emergency response planning and fire protection requirements, electrical infrastructure and transmission needs, water usage and wastewater impacts, stormwater management, traffic impacts during construction and maintenance, environmental considerations, the fiscal impact on the city's services and infrastructure, whether taxpayers should ultimately bear costs associated with utility improvements or public infrastructure, the long-term effect on nearby residential property values, and its decommissioning. The city has to examine whether existing utility infrastructure can accommodate facilities that consume extraordinary amounts of water and electricity without affecting the reliability for existing residents and businesses. The moratorium is more than just buying time for the planning and zoning code. In my opinion, Section 4 should be deleted in its entirety. If it is not deleted in its entirety, at a minimum, any appeals from the Planning Commission should be heard and decided by council, not the mayor, who would make the sole and final decision as currently written in the ordinance. An appeal from the Planning Commission should go to council, not to the mayor, because the legislative body protects public interest better than a single executive leader. Council provides an open, multi-member review process that is supposed to keep land use decision fair, democratic, and accountable to the community. Giving appeal power to the mayor concentrates too much land use control in one executive office. Council review divides power and stops single-person bias in zoning choices. Mayors should enforce laws, not rewrite and interpret council's intent. Thank you for your consideration, Steve Hubbard. Those are the two emails that I received and with a request to read them. Which brings us to the one thing on my desk. Yes?
We can stop there since you started this process. I have one and can share now too.
Sure, if you would.
Wait until the end. This is from Jeremy Rorick. It says, members of Defiance City Council, I wanted to share some thoughts regarding the discussion about a possible moratorium on data centers. I plan to attend the upcoming meeting, but there is more to my position than I can probably explain in a few minutes at a microphone. First, I am not against growth, business, or automatically against a data center coming to Defiance. I think growth is a good thing. My concern is that we're reaching a point where we need to decide what we want that growth to look like before somebody else decides it for us. I heard the argument that a moratorium could scare investors away. Maybe it could scare some away, but I don't necessarily think every investor walking away is a bad thing. If asking for enough time to establish reasonable standards causes an investor to immediately lose interest, I think that's worth paying attention to. Other communities have used temporary moratoriums and restrictions on particular types of development, including data centers, while deciding which standards make sense for their community. That doesn't necessarily mean they're closed for business. It means they're planning. I also think reasonable standards can protect good investors. It is similar to why some people choose to build in an HOA. Not everybody wants to live in one, but people who do know that certain standards apply to everyone and help protect what they've invested in. I think a responsible company making a major investment in Defiance could appreciate knowing that our community has standards for what happens around them as well. My perspective on this comes partly from about 10 years of involvement with the United Steelworkers. I was elected to an executive board and served in pension insurance roles. My experience wasn't limited to the factory where I worked. Through the union, I traveled and worked with people from different facilities, companies, and industries in Ohio and other states. I've been involved around negotiations concerning paper mills and refinery workers, and I was part of the negotiations at the Blue Cross Blue Shield in Chicago involving health insurance coverage for thousands of Titan employees across multiple facilities. I mentioned that because when I talk about my experiences with large industry and management, I'm not basing my perspective on one employer or one factory. I had opportunities to see different industries, different facilities, different management structures, and different negotiating environments. I also represented injured workers in more than 80 workers' compensation cases before the Ohio Industrial Commission, and I only lost 3. I wasn't an attorney, so I couldn't walk into those hearings and argue law. I had to build my cases with facts. That meant getting permission from injured workers to speak with their doctor and gathering their medical documentation, but it also meant talking to witnesses who were there when the injury happened, taking notes, collecting information, looking at the machinery involved, looking at repairs that have been made, and trying to determine whether something at the facility contributed to the injury. I had to investigate both sides, put the pieces together, and understand what actually happened before I ever walked out of the hearing. That experience taught me not to rely simply on what one side tells you. Do the homework yourself, ask questions, look at the history, look at the evidence, listen to both sides, and then make a decision based on fact. It also taught me not to be intimidated because somebody sitting across the table has more money, attorneys, or resources than the people you're representing. Know your facts, know what you need, ask questions, and negotiate. Most importantly, don't negotiate against yourself by deciding something is too much to ask for before you even ask. I think that applies directly to what Defiance is facing now. If a company wants to invest millions or potentially billions of dollars here, I want that company to succeed. I want them to make money, expand and employ people, but Defiance is bringing something to the table too. We're providing infrastructure, utilities, roads, emergency services, and a workforce and a community where that investment can operate. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking what Defiance receives from that partnership in return. We also need to think beyond the initial investment and beyond the day the ribbon gets cut. The person investing the money today probably won't be the person operating that facility 20 or 30 years from now. Ownership changes, management changes, equipment ages, technology changes, and markets change. My experience around large industries has shown me why that matters. Managers have an operating budget and numbers to meet. Downtime costs money. I personally watched temporary solutions become long-term solutions because properly shutting something down and repairing it was expensive. I'm not suggesting that a data center will operate that way. I'm saying that experience taught me while protections are established before there's a problem rather than after one. That's why I think we should be asking what happens through the entire life of a major development, what happens if the property's sold, what happens when the equipment becomes obsolete, who is responsible for removing it, what happens if the operation closes, who pays for the cleanup, what happens if there's contamination, what financial protections exist so taxpayers aren't handled the bill decades from now. Those aren't anti-business questions, those are business questions. It's the same reason contracts contain language about things everybody hopes never happens. You don't write a contract expecting the relationship to fail. You establish those protections while everybody's getting along and you aren't trying to figure them out after something goes wrong. I also hope we look beyond simply counting the number of jobs as a project promises. Defiance has a long manufacturing and union history, and one thing my union experience taught me is that there's a difference between creating a job and creating a job that allows somebody to build a life. Good wages and benefits allow people to buy homes, raise families, eat at our restaurants, support our small businesses, and spend their money here. Money coming into Defiance isn't necessarily the same thing as money circulating through Defiance. I don't believe we should try to squeeze every possible dollar out of somebody simply because they're making a large investment. I believe in being good partners. If a company invests here, I want them to succeed. But I also want Defiance to be better because they're here. That could mean good paying jobs, infrastructure, roads, parks, and environmental protections, financial assurances, or other community improvements that make sense for the project.
2 ordinances that were on a couple weeks ago, but now we have a larger facility we'll be able to have.
The milling and resurfacing between Second and the Jefferson.
MS4, JMC services, services for H2O ditch project, 46,000. That is that out where those trees and all that were taken out? Or was that ditch project?
It would be out there,
Yeah.
out in that whole wetland stretch that we have through there.
Okay. And then another one for streets, Ohio asphalt paving, miscellaneous alley repairs, 48,697. That's all I have, unless anybody's got any questions.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Ms. Sprague? Okay. We don't have any items of legislation for considering
John's
this
got
evening.
one.
I do not have one for Kim.
Oh, okay.
But thank you. I just wanted to mention that Battle of the Bands, I believe, is this Saturday, public announcement. So if you would like to enjoy listening to some music, I don't know what there are, but Battle of the Bands is coming on Saturday.
And that would be at the football field at the 1918
Yes,
building?
middle school football field, I believe is location.
Junior high.
Excellent. Good reminder. But before we adjourn for the evening, we always have time for citizens' concerns. If there's anyone who has a concern that they would like to discuss or ask. Mr. Oresti, it is delightful to see you this evening.
It's interesting on this side of the the room. Joey Rusty, 918 Wayne Avenue, Defiance. I'm gonna read my topic for the sake of time. My topic for today is vibration that may be created from the data center generators. Without knowing the particulars that a potential data center will use, let me give you an example of what could happen. In 2002, when I was first elected as a councilman, I received complaints from people who lived in the north side Pinehurst Drive neighborhood near Johns Manville Carpenter Road. The complaints I received from the residents were that they were experiencing humming sound and vibration, and that this had been happening for a while. Some had mentioned that it may be coming from Manville. To address these complaints as a councilman, I asked questions about these complaints. As a result, a community committee was formed that included residents from the Pinehurst Drive, and I believe a Toledo Edison representative, and I believe a Johns Manville representative. From my recollection, after many meetings and technical review, it was determined that the humming sound and vibration might be coming from the Manville South Carpenter Road emission tower. I was told that as a potential remedy, 2 rings were placed on the south tower at a cost of $350,000. I don't know who paid for the rings. According to residents, the humming and vibration stopped. So the example shows that vibration can travel and affect nearby neighborhoods. It is my understanding that vibration can travel up to 2 miles. My suggestion to the administration and city council is to look at the 2024 City of Defiance Planning and Zoning Code that starts on page 37 under 1165.06 under Site Plan Review and continues to page 43 under 1165.08 variances, conditions, conditional use review criteria under 4J. Under this section, I would recommend that council amend and include language that addresses vibration mitigation. If you read this section, it mentions noise, but does not mention the word vibration. I do have one other topic.
Sure.
Okay, this one is my topic for the council and administration review and approve a 30-day reservoir for our city to help protect and be able to provide an additional adequate water source in the event of need. On 7/11/18, council approved 20 acres on Kaiser Road for a future 30-day reservoir for the price of $300,000. This site is located next to our present 60-day reservoir. The reason this future reservoir site was approved was in the event our community had new business requests that required high water demands, like our present paper mill. In addition, another concern for adding a 30-day reservoir to the future was so that a new high water business user demands would not limit our city's water department from providing the needed daily water needs of our community and our neighboring service agreements. Also, something to consider. Our present 60-day reservoir, which was a required unfunded mandate, required the city to build the reservoir in 2008 at a cost of approximately $5 million. As a thought, sometimes the state through ODOT is in need of dirt. It might be prudent for the city to inquire whether ODOT would want to dig our reservoir for the dirt for free. This might be a huge cost savings for our city and help provide a needed water support system to our water department. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Resty. Do we have any comments or questions? Were there any other citizens' concerns? Oh, Ms. Neese.
I got everyone's heads about ready to explode on this data center topic. I want to just address and thank you for your time.
I'm sorry, we're familiar with you, but just for the record and for the,
Barb Neese,
Thank you.
1501 Mayo Drive. I want to discuss the decommissioning bond, and this would guarantee that whoever come in, like a data center coming in, before they get a permit or a lease signed, there is a decommissioning bond in place by the city to make sure they clean out equipment, dismantle structure, and return the land to the original state. I think that's important, and I think it needs to be addressed, and I think they talked about it last Tuesday or Wednesday when we met. And I don't know if city council is receptive to that idea, the decommissioning bond, where the money would be paid before they do anything, before they get a permit, paid up front, not in back. You pay it before you get your permit, before a lease is signed, any kind of contracts are signed. And I would suggest the bond would be 125% of the cost to decommission the facility.
Of the cost of the facility when they build it, are you talking about 125% of the cost of the facility?
No, to decommission it.
I understand the bond, I'm trying to come up with a number you're trying to tell
I
us.
think over 100%, like they would have to say, well, it would cost us $5 million to decommission this. They would have to pay that plus 25%.
So somebody
more.
would have to come up with some idea of what it would cost to decommission.
I have no, you want me to come up?
No, somebody, I
Yeah,
said, no, not you,
exactly.
but yeah, somebody that knows that process, I guess. I can't speak for the other 5 that are here, I agree with the decommissioning bond, so. How we
Okay.
get to that number is what we have to figure out.
Yeah, well, they would almost have to also figure that out. I mean, that would be a shared responsibility. But, I do think that it's extremely important, especially when you're dealing with an industry that doesn't really have a track record yet. They have, not with these huge facilities, these hyperscales haven't existed that long. I do know about every county in Northwest Ohio is dealing with hyperscales wanting to move in, and they're coming fast and furious, and that concerns me greatly. One other thing I wanted, is that understood, the decommissioning bond, and why I'm asking for it?
Yeah.
Okay, one other thing, Governor Abbott of Texas just put a pause on all new permits on data centers. Shocking news. I mean, even the president was floored. His reality or his take on it was he wants to protect the health and welfare of the state's citizens of the states of Texas. And he feels right now the only way to do that is to pause everything. Any new permits, you can't get them in Texas, not for data centers. I think he is really on the right track. Other states have done it. And we're kind of asking the same thing. We're asking for a moratorium, which is kind of like a pause. And because there's just so many issues that come with this. There's social issues, environmental issues, how this county will change if we get one. Our whole fabric is going to change. So I think that's to be noted. You know, Texas is a huge state. And also, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a lot to digest, but I think the decommissioning bond is very important. And I do think we need to look to our state leaders, like the Texas governor putting that pause is saying a lot. And he's doing it, well, he probably wants reelected, number one. He's also doing it because, you know, his citizens are upset. 7 out of 10 Americans do not want data centers in their communities. I read they'd rather have a nuclear reactor sitting next to them than a data center. I would rather have a nuclear reactor next to me than a data center because I know quite a bit about nuclear reactors. Not a lot, but I had a family member who worked in that industry. But thank you.
All right, thank you for being our guest this evening. Before we adjourn, are there any other citizens who would like to ask a question or make a statement? With no hands going up, do we have a motion to adjourn for this evening? So moved, Mr. Corbett, second, Mr. Engel. All those in favor of adjourning this evening and reconvening next Tuesday at 5, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? We're adjourned. See you next week.